Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparuta sangamatassa tawara Esodavantaba munchantu satang. So we have this opportunity to reflect on Dhamma the way it is. Dhamma is apparent here and now, and the way it is like this. So these simple phrases simplify the Buddha's teaching, which can sound very complicated when you look at the scriptures. But actually, Buddha Dhamma is extremely simple. What's more realistic than apparent here and now, because experience is always about now. Experience of the past is a memory, and experiences that you expect to have in the future are imagination. So it's learning to relax and be present here and now, just the quiet listening, silent presence, which is a Dhamma, which is consciousness. But what is apparent for many of you is your thoughts, what your expectations or your attitudes, your memories that arise during this time. And I've been asked to reflect on the desires which are the cause of suffering. So when we have the First Noble Truth, there is suffering, it should be understood. You're not looking outward anymore, it's always going inward at one's own fears, imagined fears about the future, guilt and remorse or regret about the past, feelings of conceit about your status, and all the conditioning we acquire. So that is the world that we create. Each person creates their own world to live in. So it's based on ignorance, on avijja, ignorance of Dhamma, or the way it is. So when I invite you to be present here and now, it doesn't mean you have to do anything. It doesn't mean you have to become a person who's present. It's just learning to listen, to open to the present moment is like this. And whatever way you're experiencing this motion emotionally, physically, it's like this rather than my feelings, my body, which are all illusions that we create and are the very cause of suffering. When you identify with the body, if that's all your identity is in the human body, then you are bound to suffer in life. Because the body is not what we call a happy condition, it's a created form. But this is a desire realm, and a desire realm is like this. A desire realm is what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, what we think, our emotions. So we live in a world, each one creates our own separate world to experience and translate it in terms of me and mine, my world, my thoughts, my feelings, my memories. But of the three kinds of desire to become something, you feel you've got to get enlightened, or sensory desire, Gamadana, is a sensual desire for pleasure through the senses, through the body, or the desire to become. You feel you've got to get something. Now, how many of you come to these talks feeling you hope to get something? Wanting to become enlightened, wanting to get understanding, wanting to, you feel you're missing something. There's something in your life that's missing or not good enough, and you want to make it better and meaningful and purposeful. That's bhavadana. And vibhavadana is a desire to get rid of the negative side of life, to control, to micromanage life, to get rid of anger, fear, jealousy, the defilements, the kilesas, to just deny, get rid of, and spend a lot of time resisting life or the here and now. Through all your efforts go into vibhavadana, desire to control and get rid of what you don't like. So I've told you many times, when I really discovered vibhavadana, I said, that's my middle name. I'm a Robert Vibhavadana, because I saw how I'm conditioned, my personality conditioned to try to control and get rid of fear, get rid of jealousy, get rid of avijja, want to conquer ignorance. And how much of my life was based on ideals of wanting to make the world perfect, to create a perfect monastery. So it's not criticizing oneself when one recognizes these desires. Once you see them as desire and rather than as personal flaws, trying to control, to get rid of, trying to become a perfect person, that we suffer. Even in monastic life and lay life, we create the conditions because we want life to be fair and just and meaningful and purpose. We want to resolve conflicts. We want to become brave and courageous and fight for what's right. All the kind of noble desires to become by the desire to get rid of like weakness or fear, anxiety, get rid of worry. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't ever worry about anything? But the future is the unknown, so there's a lot to worry about. But these three desires are very important to study, to observe in yourself, not to apply them to others, but to just witness. Your sensual desires like this is not that being celibate and a monk or a nun that you shouldn't have sensual desires. That's an ideal you might hold in your life as a monastic. But the celibate life of a monk or nun of a sangha is a mirror for reflection, just to see. Sensual desire is part of the body itself. It's a sense form. It's a sense realm we're experiencing. Sensuality is like this, is not judging it in terms of good or bad, right or wrong, but in understanding that this experience within the form of a monk or nun or man or woman is a very limited identity. No, enlightenment or being awake, even for one who is completely awake, knowing Dhamma, resting and abiding in Dhamma, still lives within the rest of his or her life in the sensual world. But through understanding the limitations of sensuality, of desire in its three forms, we're no longer slaves to our habits. We're not victims of fate. We learn from experience because through the senses we experience beauty and ugliness. Through emotions we experience anger, fear, happiness, pleasure. So pleasure, happiness, sensual pleasure and happiness and fear and misery and suffering are of equal value in our lives. It's not like we're seeking to experience, get beyond the sensual world and turn our backs on it, but to understand it. This is the occasion that we all share in understanding through observing, being the Bhutto, the witness, to the emotions, whatever they may be, pleasant, unpleasant, fair, unfair, good or evil. They are like this. They arise, they feed. But when a bad thought ceases, you're still conscious. But your enlightened mind is aware of the end of that thought, that unpleasant, unwanted thought is teaching us the nature of Dhamma. All conditions are impermanent. What arises ceases. So each one of us is learning from the way we are. No matter if we have really good karma, where we're loyal, happy, or miserable and depressed, both extremes are not self. They're not a person. They're conditions that arise through ignorance, through identity with the sense realm, with the body. So the insight into the second noble truth is let go. And let go is not getting rid of. It's not like you're resisting anymore. You're not fighting. You're not a warrior, monk or nun, fighting against evil forces. You're letting go. So letting go, how do you let go? The question is asked by many. And it's just natural, relax. Rather than making your hands into fists to fight the world, you just relax the hands. Simple as just relaxation. But we're very much conditioned, for many of us anyway, to fight. Like we have this ideal of a warrior monk that fights for fairness and justice. And so this is an image that is quite attractive, to, especially to men. But it's not becoming a warrior that we realize Dhamma the way it is, because the way it is as it is in the present moment, silent. And with silence, there's nothing to fight. Silence has no ugly images to destroy, no enemies. It has no angelic images of what you should become and hold on to. Silence is silence. It's empty. It's here and now. Whatever state of mind you're in, or physically or emotionally or mentally, silence is still your refuge rather than trying to get rid of things, trying to control things. Wanting to control life, make it fight for ideals in worldly terms is very noble. democracy, fight for democracy. Human rights, fight for human rights, fight for DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, fight for what's noble, fair, and just is ideal. It's not to be despised, but what it is in reality is an ideal. Because life is like this, and we, even with all of the best conditions where there is diversity, equity, and inclusion, there's still unfairness, inequity, prejudice, biases. That are not ideals, but are conditions that many people believe in racism, in gender identities, in nationality. They hold to these identities as a kind of rigidly bound to these ideals. But with mindfulness and wisdom, then we can see that this clinging to even the most wonderful ideals is still suffering, because this sensual world is not an ideal, and we cannot make it ideal. An ideal is a creation of the mind, is an imagination. Then you might ask, well, if we don't fight for fairness and justice and equity and inclusion, then the evil forces will take over. And so we create an illusion about evil forces, the possibility of authoritarian systems, of fascism. And who's creating these images? It's oneself. We create fear through imagining, through imaging, through remembering the past, through imagining the future. But apparent here and now, Dhamma is peace. It's bliss. And it's here and now. It's not something you'll find. It's something that you are. Basically, your true nature is perfect, peaceful, blissful. So the discovery that you're not just bound by prejudice, biases, idealism, by gender, by nationality, by race. These things lose their hold on you, your mind, and you relax and just be with life as you experience it, learning from the way it is in its pleasant aspects or its unpleasant ones. So sati sampajanya is mindfulness and clear comprehension or wisdom, which are natural. It's not that you have to become a wise person, but learning to let go of the three kinds of desire. Doesn't mean you don't experience them, but you know them for what they are. You know that all three, kamadana, bhavadana, vipudana, are sankharas, are conditions that arise according to other conditions. They're impermanent, and they're not a real person, no matter how much they insist that they are really a person. So when I say nobody gets enlightened, that can be a rather depressing statement. But if you know who you really are, you're enlightened naturally, not as a person, but as Dhamma, as ultimate reality. Now this is encouragement to have faith in. The gate to the deathless are open. Aparuta de sangamata sataura. This statement that I like to chant before I start talking really impressed me years ago. At the beginning of my monastic life, it seemed like a statement of confidence. The gate to the deathless are open. So you don't have to find a way of opening the gates. They're already open. And that open gate is here and now, Dhamma. Yeah, then the second verse, Ye Sodavanta Bamunchantu Satang. Those who hear this, put your confidence and faith in your true nature rather than in teachers or traditions or ideals. Because all teachers, physical teachers, all traditions, scriptural imperatives, all these are created forms. They're not ultimate reality as teachers, as imperatives, as commandments. So it's like really awakening to, so that the Buddha is not just a memory of a sage of India 2,500 and so many years ago. It's not about worshiping memories of a sage or a Buddha image, but it's about realizing your true nature. You don't have to look at anything other than let go. It's like listening to nature, listening to the sounds of the world. And behind all the sounds of nature and your own thoughts and your own ideas is the silence, the resonating silence of the deathless, the gate that the gates are open for. You don't have to open the gates, they're already open. So I offer this as a reflection for this afternoon.